It's 2:04 p.m., September 22nd, 2023. What's it say? Page 126. America's entry into the war both doomed and saved Hitler. Over the longer term, as Pius's advisors now perceived, the Axis could only lose. But for the moment, the German resistance could not win. Hitler's declaration of war on the United States made White House officials reject Lochner's approach, he recalled, as most embarrassing. Footnote 23. The Christmas plot collapsed. Already reeling from this blow, the resistance suffered another on 19 December, when Hitler blamed the increasingly oppositional Brauchitsch for the stalled Moscow offensive and sacked him. Yet these losses only briefly crippled the conspirators. They recovered because Father Roche replanted in their breast the image of man. Footnote 24. It happened on 22 to 25 May 1942 at Crouse, Moltke's Galician estate. During that Pentecost weekend, the plotters lived for 3 days in the new world they sought. Moltke's 24 guests would recall with unanimous warmth the idyllic setting, the lilacs in the sun, the sheep and the sugar beets, the late-night talks by the fireplace. The Feast of the Pentecost spurred the spirit of renewal with its tradition of the Holy Spirit appearing in tongues of flame to the apostles meeting secretly in Jerusalem. The plotters saw themselves as latter-day apostles in a new Babylon, and Father Roche coached them. He taught them how to resist interrogation based on his more than 100 confrontations with the Gestapo. He offered the simple advice of praying to your guardian angel. That set the primitive Christian tone that infused the weekend, the ethos of the catacombs, the rejuvenating purity of a return to the roots. Moltke's wife wrote of Father Roche, "We really felt quite reborn because of him." Roche was too seasoned and discreet to suggest that he fronted for the Pope, but the Vatican pre-coordinated and pre-approved the Creusau agenda, as Helmut Moltke's secret writings showed. On 8 May, a man came from Roche who wanted to know various things and furthermore came from meetings with the Pope. Brechbrungen vein Papst, Moltke recorded, and one of the main questions from Rome was, "What can you say on the question of the economic order?" Moltke had a day of morning to midnight talks with a Vatican envoy whom he identified only as the stranger. Through Moltke, the stranger relayed questions about the post-Hitler order to Berlin Bishop Konrad von Preysing, and through Moltke, in turn, Preysing answered the Pope. In the end, they made a lot of progress, Moltke thought. Preysing was obviously satisfied, and so was I. The resulting conference manifesto, drafted by Jesuit Father Delp and edited by Roche, hewed strictly to Catholic social teaching as set forth in Pius XI's 1931 encyclical, Quadragesimo Anno, which Moltke had long admired. Footnote 26. When Roche read the manifesto to the gathering, it made an impact. Rejecting much political thinking since the 14th century, the document denounced the deification of the state, Staatsvergottung, and lamented its progressive expansion into a python hung that succeeded in laying claim to the entire man. In opposition to this anonymous monster, Rome proposed a communitarian localism, the largest possible number of the smallest possible communities. The Christianschaft, a union of Christians, would become the basic atom of this new order. Germany would return to the theory of the organic state that had vanished with Charlemagne. Roche persuaded Protestant resistance leaders and socialist union bosses that this model suited the German future. Almost as if Pentecostal fire had descended over their heads, a reactionary romanticism took hold. Roche imparted the vision of a new Christendom built on a social democratic rather than military feudal lines, and this political nostalgia fed into a feeling that the Reformation had been a grave error, because the decline of the Church had allowed the rise of absolute state. Though a somewhat monistic explanation of Germany's predicament, it oriented the conspirators in their ruined world. Energy they had once devoted to explaining Hitler could now be devoted to fighting him. Footnote 27. Roche reviewed the Catholic take on tyrannicide. Aquinas had stressed that a tyrant's removal must not cause civil war. In that sense, the Kreisel group created precisely to prevent internal strife after Hitler legitimized the plot. There was talk that somehow another attempt against Hitler's life had been made again, of which nothing was made public, Roche recalled. The plotters pledged themselves brothers in war and Christ,